Welcome back to Peril Pending, and today we're going to do the basic maths on benefits. That's right, it's that time again, where a multi-millionaire tells us that as a country we need to stop giving the people with the least any kind of money, but don't you dare think about taking it away from them. Let's have a watch.
This is a serious one. We're asking, is the benefit system too generous? You can give us a call on this, 0207 862 2222. The reason we're asking it is because one of the country's richest men, the biggest political donor, has told the Telegraph that the government just can't get away with paying people up to...
Something the host there left off, I'm sure by total accident. This person donates to the Tory party and, of course, the Reform party. And that's it. Biggest donors for the Tory party and the Reform.
£60,000 a year in benefits. Lord Bamford, the billionaire boss of the construction firm JCB, claims that the soaring welfare budget risks triggering a public revolt, he says.
I don't think you can get away with people on welfare getting up to £60,000 a year and not working for it. I just don't think you can in the end.
Lord Bamford, who's donated to both the Conservatives and the Reform UK party, he went on to say the taxpayers can't be conned, his words, into believing current levels of welfare are sustainable. Now, for context...
What an absolute joke. It's a con, apparently. I mean, it's not great, but I don't think that where we need to be sort of raking back that stolen money will be from the people who have the least. We will get onto that. Let's just first of all see what the panel have to say.
Recent analysis from the Conservatives found that 267,000...
Of course it's from the Conservatives.
UK households received more than £40,000 in benefits from 2024 to 2025. So, is the system too generous, do you think, Albie?
Well, before the guest there speaks, I'll say yes, the system is far too generous, but not for the people at the bottom. It's far too generous for the people at the top. For example, Lord Bamford there, member of the House of Lords. Every single member of the House of Lords gets a £371 a day allowance. And let's say there's 260 working days, so we've taken the weekends out of that. That means that every single member of the House of Lords, including Lord Bamford there, the billionaire, can claim £96,460 every year. Every single member of the House of Lords can. Of course, they don't have to, and that would only be the case if they all showed up to every single vote, which we all know they don't. But I'm just giving the extremes here. And also, if they're outside of London, they can claim a further £125 for overnight accommodation. So again, that times the 260 gives us 32,500. So in total, every single member of the House of Lords that doesn't live in London, if they were to attend Monday to Friday, could claim £128,960 every single year. But yeah, tell me how it's the people at the bottom end taking benefits. Tell me how it's their fault.
I think it is too generous, but I also think Lord Bamford is not the right person to be making this argument.
Okay, right.
When you say billionaire Bamford, my stomach just turns because I just think this is not the man to be making this argument. But the point that he's making is correct. The simple fact of the matter is, in 2025, we spent more on welfare and benefits, which includes pensions, by the way, than we took in income tax. So,
good thing you mentioned pensions. The elephant in the room.
Every penny of income tax that all four of us around this panel pay goes to the benefits bill. That is not sustainable. That is a broad spectrum tax, and it's only going to go up and up and up as we have an ageing population and a shrinking labour force. So the benefit system is too generous because we can't afford it.
Are you including pensions in that stat?
Yes, I'm including pensions in that stat.
Okay,
my opinions on pensions are very well known. I think we should scrap the triple lock on pensions
Agreed.
as well.
Well, we had
to
that debate yesterday.
to bring the benefits bill down.
We had that debate yesterday. I can tell you our viewers were not so keen.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, no surprise there. Why would they be? I imagine they'll be benefiting from that, forgetting the fact that every generation after them isn't going to get that. But why would we want to help the new generation? Gimme, gimme, gimme.
To see the scrapping of the triple lock. But Shikanya, what do you think? I mean, there are roughly 16,000 households, from what we can detect, that are in receipt of £60,000.
Yeah.
Right, let's work that out. So 16,000 households, each apparently getting £60,000. So that's 960 million in total. And obviously that will include things like disability benefits, looking after a sick member of the family, which would cost more if they were leaving it up to the state. It includes PIP payments. So all these, I'm sure there will be some bits and pieces in there that can be cut, but there's quite a lot that can't. But that's 960 million. It's a pretty big number. However, another big number is the amount that we give to ex-PMs for the rest of their lives. So every single ex-Prime Minister, and let's just talk about the last 5, I think it was, from the Tory run, including Truss, even though she only worked for about 2 weeks, they can all claim up to £115,000 a year for life. And again, they don't have to claim the full amount, they don't have to claim any, but that's what they can claim up to. So you've got Cameron, Theresa, Boris, Truss and Rishi. So that's £115,000 a year times 5. It's 575,000. So, I mean, it's going to add up. I mean, come on, we can see where all this money is going, and it's not to the people with the least.
Worth of welfare benefits. Now, in order to qualify for those, you have to hit a lot of boxes. Personal independent payments playing a key role to that. So what do you think? Is Lord Bamford right that this is unsustainable? I mean, he seemed to have an issue of people receiving that money but not working for it.
So I agree that I think it is unsustainable, and I think there has to be some reform of how we look at benefits. But I think sometimes we're asking the wrong question. And the question should be, is why are people claiming benefits in the first place? Why are people so disenfranchised to the point where they actually prefer to sit at home than go out to work? And I think that that's a bigger question we should be asking. As a taxpayer, I'm happy for my taxes to go back into society. I love Britain. I think that we should be investing in
all of them on benefits?
I think we should be investing in our fellow Britons, but also looking at the underlying causes. I agree with you. I don't think Bamford's the right person to be having this conversation or raising.
Yeah, the billionaire's probably not the one to be raising the issue of giving the working class money.
The alarm. In fact, I think we should be taxing people like him more. So that we can undo some of that underbelly of why people are claiming benefits in the way they are. And the Centre of Social Justice had a really great study last year. It was called The Lost Boys. And they were looking at young people in Britain who are NEET, so not in education, training or employment. And they talked about hopelessness. They talked about mental health complaint. They talked about how people feel disenfranchised by their communities and by the country they live in. I think if we fix that, we might inspire more people to want to go to university, want to then go into work.
Yeah, it's a very good point. Why would somebody want to do painstaking hours in a really shitty job when they know at the end of the day, most of it's going to get taken off them in tax? Because once again, the Tories did it, Labour are now doing it, giving the working class the tax bill. They can't afford properties. They can't afford to go away. They can barely afford to feed themselves. I'm sure about 40% of people on benefits are on working. So why would people want to do a job they're not happy with if it's not even enough to cover like their food bill? It's not rocket science.
Or try other vocations, and also sort out the huge issues that we have around things like mental health. I actually don't think it's too generous. I think that there's just more that we need to do to support people.
When we look at universal credit, for example, 40% of people, 38% of people on universal
there we
credit
go.
Are in work.
are in fact working.
Yeah.
So is the problem in actual fact that jobs just aren't paying anymore? It's not that our benefit system is too generous, it's the fact that our working system isn't paying enough.
Yeah, that is part of the problem. And I'm sure that business owners like Lord Bamford have something to do with that, and they could probably...
Oh yeah, we'll get on to Lord Bamford and his business dealings in a minute, after these folks have stopped speaking. Yeah, I'm sure it won't surprise you to see that it's a little dodgy.
Pay their staff, in some cases more, and perhaps have to forfeit some of their profit margins in order to do
And their
that. But
bonus.
I would also argue that a lot of businesses run on very tight margins and they can't actually pay their staff anymore.
He doesn't offer any evidences about this claim.
If we think about hospitality, if we think about retail, for example. So not every business is going to be able to do that. But you say 40% of people who claim universal credit are in work. That means 60% of them aren't in work. So there is an issue with economically inactive people, and people need to get back to work, especially after the pandemic.
Well, we're talking. Economically inactive can be quite a contentious...
It's a catch-all phrase
It's a catch-all
for a lot
phrase.
of people.
Well, for people at home looking after children, for people caring for loved ones,
Bingo, perfect point. Thank you for bringing that up.
which would cost the state a lot more money to care for them if they had to do it. So sometimes when we say economically inactive, it would be inaccurate because actually they're providing more for the economy than they're taking out. I'm just going to say that before a caller does. Let's go to the calls and see what they say. Jason from Merseyside, you're up first. What's your view on this? Is our welfare system too generous?
No, not whatsoever. I mean, I'm currently seeking work. I'm on universal credit. I get exactly £905 per month, and out of that has got to come rent, all the other utility bills, etc. Yeah. So I'm.
No, see, Jason, you clearly haven't spoken to Lord Bamford. You're probably just doing something wrong. Are you maybe buying a coffee? Or perhaps an avocado? Do you have a Netflix account? Are you enjoying life? You shouldn't be enjoying life. You should just make money for Lord Bamford and all the rest of the millionaires and billionaires. And then that should be your joy. How dare you take some joy out of life?
I'm lucky if I've got like 10 or 20 quid left out of a month, if that makes sense, yeah.
To spend on what? So that you've already paid for food?
Yeah, so just to eat, and you've got a thrift shop. That's the honest way of putting it. So you've got to look for the last minute bargains. So yeah, you've got to watch every penny. So no, I don't know where someone is getting the idea that people are getting 60 grand a year. Because if you add 905 up to 12, it doesn't come anywhere near that. It's lucky if it's about 10 grand a year.
I think that is the problem.
See, you get by just fine. 10 grand a year, that's nothing. It's not like you're an MP with a starting salary of £98,599 a year. Starting, those guys are just getting by. It's under 100k a year, Jason. So maybe you should be happy for your measly 10,
That people will feel when Lord Bamford said people are getting £60,000. Well, that's a household, and households are only getting that if there are
Oh, look at that. The billionaire was lying.
disabilities there and other
Children,
considerations,
perhaps.
and more children.
And in the grand scheme of thing of how many people are in receipt of some sort of benefit, it is a minuscule amount. I know 16,000 sounds like a lot, and it is, and it costs about £1 billion, but in grand...
You know, you're just overestimated by about 40 million, but close enough.
And scheme of things, it is a smaller amount than the millions of people who are out there working, like Jason, and still not being able to make...
Jason.
Sorry, Jason, to cut you off there. Just need to skip ahead a bit.
Oh, thank you for that. Thank you very much for your call. John from London, what's your view? Benefit system, is it too generous? £60,000 is a lot of money. Some households are getting that.
It's miles too generous. I see the lady on your panel there, like...
John sounds like he might be one of those people that's upset about the triple lock talk. But you never know. Maybe he's going to have some good points.
She thinks that money grows on trees. She must do. I mean, they cannot manage now with the system as it is, and yet the men are asking for the same as the wives, 6 weeks off with full 90% pay.
John, that's paternity leave. That's only given to people who have a job. And if they have a job, they're working. So they're not on the benefits system, John.
I mean, where's all this money coming from?
All right, London.
She
John,
says,
I think what we've done there is we've went into a whole other debate about paternity leave, which clearly upsets you, John. But fair play.
I think it's the point of like, you know, when you add the help that people are asking for. I think John's making the point of where is that money kind of come from?
Okay, but John, that paternity leave would be for a man who is in fact working and contributing. So,
you know, I'd really like to know where all the money comes from for MPs' subsidies. You know how we pay for their food and drink? Again, we're going to get onto that after this clip. But considering MPs, again, starting salary is £98,599, it seems a little odd. Where's all that money coming from? Why aren't you upset at that, John?
slightly different. Shikenya, you were accused of thinking that money grows in trees.
I promise you, I don't think money grows in...
Yeah, money does not grow in trees. We're going to skip ahead again. No, I believe we're going to leave it there. So, right, yes. MP starting salaries, 98,599. Well, let's just have a look at their subsidies. So, according to the Adam Smith Institute, we forked out from about 2023 to 2024, we the taxpayer forked out 5.8 million. In that year, we the taxpayer forked out 5.8 million pounds in order to pay for politicians' meals and drinks. But yeah, you know, these pesky people looking after their sick relatives and children, we need to take money away from them. How else are the MPs supposed to have a pint and a nice steak while they're at work? And according to Full Fact, that wasn't even one of the worst years. In the year 2021 to 2022, it was just over 7.5 million. And in 2020 and 2021, that cost was around 9.1 million. That's how much we paid so that MPs could eat and drink at work. Again, their salary is 98,000. It would have been less in 2021 and 2020, but not by much. Then, of course, there's the corporations. Why can't we just tax them? They'll probably bring in quite a bit of money. Well, between 2020 and 2024, thanks to Rishi Sunak, Amazon paid zero corporation tax. That has, of course, now been amended, and they're beginning to give us what we owe. And the biggest one of all, in my personal opinion, is all the COVID fraud. It was 960 million, so it was less than 1 billion. That's how much Lord Bamford was crying about. Well, why don't we rake some of this back? Because the COVID fraud cost us 10.9 billion. That's the single biggest lot. Like we could, I'm not saying we should, but you could even ignore the corporations if we raked back some of this. Why aren't we? This was a promise from Starmer. It's probably one of the reasons why people aren't happy with him. But I really don't think a reform government, definitely not a Tory government, it's their mates that it all went to. Maybe a Lib Dem. Lib Dems and Greens might do it. I'm really shocked that Labour aren't. This would have been such a quick win. And lastly, I did a quick little search on our Lord Bamford here. And it looks like he owes us 500 million. This is from 2023. I couldn't find anything closer to the current year. But yeah, would you look at that? The man's so scared of the benefits system. It can't. It's nearly the cracking. We can't be just giving away money. He owes 500 million. So he could take away over half of what's owed if he just paid his tax. But never mind. Lord Bamford's probably correct. As always, we should take from the people with with the least.